communication. And they say to me, I want to be a passionate leader, and I want to learn to have a better voice, and better hand gestures, and inflection. And I talk with them, and I say, okay, those things are fine, but let me tell you a story about a great leader that I recently had the experience of listening to. I was at a graduation ceremony for 8th grade. And this one was important for me because it was my son Ryan who was graduating. And the principal, a man by the name of Joe, a bear of a man. He's 6'9", broad shoulders, very imposing. Kids, if he looks at kids sideways, they're already following in line. Just a really impressive man. He's talking that day, 500-600 people out there. And he goes through some of the normal things that you would hear at graduation, but at one point, he looks on the stage to the students. And he wants to tell them he's proud of them, and he goes and he tries to say to them that he loves them. And he can't get the word out. And he starts to tear up. He's breaking down up there. Tries once. Tries a second time. He can't get the word out. Audience is completely quiet. Seconds feel like minutes now. He tries a third time. Finally, I yell out, "We love you too, Joe!" And the crowd erupts in applause. And I wasn't doing that in any way for me. I was trying to give Joe just a second to compose himself. Just a bit of a break. That didn't work either. So he continued to struggle along through his talk. But during that time and afterwards, with all the parents that I talked to, it was so obvious. Everybody understood how much this man cared, how he had dedicated his heart and soul to these students over the past year. So let's think about that a second. He didn't have great voice or gestures or energy, yet he was leading. Why? Because we saw some of who the man really was. Not some, we saw the entirety, the core of this man. So a lot about leadership is having the courage to show some of who you are. Now I get in corporations, we don't necessarily want to be crying and some don't want to use the word love. I get all that. But having the courage to show what you care about, what you're passionate about, it takes guts. There's some risk. People may not like what you're about, but it's huge. It helps people's defenses come down. Helps them see that you actually believe in what you're saying, that you lead by example. The second point that I wanted to cover is, I see again and again at the president, CEO level, leaders that are afraid to admit when they have these big strategy meetings or gather the troops, and they're afraid to admit what the real problems are in the organization. They say things like, well, we're great, and if we just do this, we'll be even greater. And everybody knows sitting there are problems. Yet sometimes as leaders, our egos, we're afraid to admit it. We think that we need to be infallible and rock solid and all these things. But the reality of it is, great leaders crisply identify the problems in the organization, like a laser. And they prioritize them. They tell people, here's the biggest thing that we've got to work on. What those leaders also do then is they let everybody in the organization, at their different levels, they let them know what's expected of them. What's their part? How could they make the organization better? Sounds simple, yet I don't see it a lot out there. So 2 quick things to think about as leaders. 1, have some guts. Show some of that personality, what makes you tick. Secondly, be willing to admit there are problems and really explain the plan. Get people invested based on your mastery of the plan and including them in the plan of how you'll fix it. And you'll get a lot better results.